After watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix, I feel very unsettled and like unsatisfying. My experience with it, like this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I started The Social Dilemma last night for my JTC 326 class for online storytelling as an extra credit assignment. And I only got halfway through. I'm in the military, so I had to commute down here to Denver to have drill this weekend. So I watched it halfway through, got here to the hotel, and I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed. And I showed up to drill today, and I literally had like an in-person experience of what we deal with, like on Google and Facebook and Instagram, because I started the Social Dilemma last night and didn't finish it. Got to drill today. We had a bunch of briefings, and in one of the briefings, we talked about extremism. And the briefer, who was like, I think it was the Secretary of Defense, mentioned the social dilemma. And then my group commander mentioned it. And then my unit commander mentioned it. And all these people in my unit and like in the military chain of command mentioned the social dilemma. And it was like so weird because I was like, I just started watching that last night. And it was so weird. I'd never heard about it until this assignment for school. But I thought was interesting that like ties into it because of how Facebook and Google and Twitter and all those operate. So that was just an interesting story. But after finishing the movie today, like I said, I feel a little bit unsettled. I think being in advertising and marketing, I always kind of knew what was going on with Google and Facebook and how they really try to like personalize your feed and they want to serve you ads that like that they know you're going to click on or something that you've seen before. And I've done the training to be able to implement advertisements that will like, oh, if it comes up on your feed once and you interact with it, it'll come up again. And I've never really seen a problem with that until watching The Social Dilemma and like seeing how deep it was. And like, obviously there's the quote of, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. But I think the things that really stuck out with me from the film were how they talk about how Facebook and Google and all that, they don't want just your attention. They don't want to serve you personalized feed. They want to change your lifestyle in a sense. And I feel like that's kind of true because like I've noticed personally that in my experience with social media, like there might be something that I'm not really interested in, I don't really like, but if I see it enough across my feed, if I see my friends doing it enough, if I see that it's becoming a popular trend, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'll try that. Or like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Like instantly, okay, so like take this like brand, for example, We Go Home. It is a brand that promotes additional training for military members and first responders to make sure that you and the person next to you always go home. And I was never really into like motivational stuff, especially with military. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to do whatever. But like with my friends always sharing their motivational quotes, always being like, oh, we have to train hard, we have to do this. All of a sudden I was like, you know what, yeah, you're right, we do have to train hard, we do have to do this. And yes, it's an important message to me now, but at the time it wasn't. And so of course I had to buy a sweatshirt, and that is right there a perfect example of product and like everything that is changing my lifestyle. I definitely like, and it's changed my lifestyle for the better. Like I've gotten more involved in the gym and having more like stringent exercise and workout routines and everything like that, training more. But that's like a huge example. Like it is changing my lifestyle. And I think that like all the information that goes into that and, you know, the notifications, and it was just like really trippy to see and then have people in real life talk to me about it. And it really makes me want to delete social media. Like as odd as that sounds, like I'm sure that people say that all the time, but the lifestyle thing really resonated with me personally. And that companies want to buy an algorithm that is going to tell them like what your next step is. And, you know, if you're used to watching 5 dog videos and then you usually switch over to like car videos, like that's exactly how it's going to happen. And that was really trippy to me too, to see that. In terms of the article, I think I should have given myself a little bit more time after watching the movie to like let it resonate with me before I read the article, because I just felt like I was so empowered by the film and everything that was said that I wasn't really taking everything in the article to its full force. So I am going to go back and reread the article at another point. But to me, like, I do agree with the author in some points. She does say that like in the Netflix documentary, they continue to reference that we need regulation and we need to like tame the beast and everything like that, and that Facebook and Google and all them, they're not the bad guys, and the people who created them, they're not the bad guys. Like, it was never really intentional to turn a favorite, which was supposed to spread love, into a way of affirmation for teenage girls, and even for girls like myself. Like, I know I've fallen into that. So I think she does have a really good point there. And talking about how, like, there is no real action that's being taken. It's like exposing the beast, but no action, nothing moving forward. So that's a really interesting point, and I would like to like go forward with that. But overall, like, my experience with both of these medias was just insane, because it was like I started it last night and then all of a sudden it all came up in like my real life today. Like, it was literally like my life was like Google, like empowered by Google, if that makes sense. Like, just the way it came up, and just talking about extremism in a briefing that we had, and then having the middle and end of the social dilemma be about like attending a riot. And I think it was pushing towards that ideal of extremism and that ideology. So those were my experiences with it, but I think it was very informational, and I definitely am going to go back through and read the article at a later time, and then just reevaluate and like self-evaluate what this information means to me. And I definitely want to talk to other people about it as well. So if you have something to add, or you've seen it or haven't seen it or have a different opinion, let me know in the comments, because I definitely want to talk about this, and I want to see what other people thought and what other people got from it.